Hello and welcome to One on One. I am Cyril Stover. A national rebirth can be described as a new or second birth, a reincarnation, regeneration, or a reawakening. Now, all of these can be taken as a change that leads to a new period of growth and improvement in something, in this case, a nation, Nigeria. For many citizens, there is need for a reawakening of the spirit of patriotism and nationalism to get Nigeria on the path of growth and development. Events of the last decade or so have produced a society that is seen largely as divided and uninspiring in many aspects of national life. Today, our focus is on reorientation of the citizen to appreciate the ideals of a united and forward-looking nation that has largely remained a potential regional and world leader. The National Orientation Agency is a government organ whose mission is to consistently raise awareness, provide timely and credible feedback, positively change attitudes, values, and behaviors, and sufficiently mobilize citizens to act in ways that promote peace, harmony, and national development. My guest today is the Director General of the agency, Larry Issa Onilu, a specialist in strategic public communication with vast experience in corporate and political communication, crisis communication, policy analysis, and development issues. Madam Larry Issa Onilu.
Yeah, well, it's my pleasure being here again. Nice to see you again, sir.
Right. Nice to see you. Well, you took over the mantle of leadership at the National Orientation in October 2023. And this was coming at a time when many Nigerians were saying a lot has happened to the country. The country had just come out of a general election, and the feelings in so many quarters could be described as not very united. Did you see this as a very tough task ahead of you, running an agency like the NOA?
Absolutely. I have no doubt about that, that the challenge before us as a nation is humongous. And for me to be saddled with that responsibility, I'm not going to deceive myself. I'm not going to say it's going to be a walk in the park, not at all. But I'm up to the challenge. I understand the issues. And I also understand what exactly needs to be done. Because I do know that this falls squarely within my area of competence. Talk of whatever malady we face in this country, whatever challenge we face in this country, they are mainly outcomes of our attitude. So it's clear-cut. Behavioral change communication. And there are a whole lot of issues around that. And that's what we have been doing in the last 4 months, putting the structure in place, creating the platforms to engage not only with Nigerians as citizens, but also with the country itself. It takes two to tango. And in the course of our discussion, I will be talking about how we have made past effort, but we were short-sighted. You know, looking at it from one angle, and that is the angle of the citizens. How much more do you want the citizens to do?
All right. Now, this is interesting how you say that that's just been on the citizens alone. So let's assess the, if you like, the term, which I hardly ever want to use it, the average Nigerian citizen. Let's just say, just simple folks who just want to live in a country and enjoy, you know, the little things of life, access, good health care, education, and of course, all the other things that make up a citizen's life. How would you assess the Nigerian citizen over the years?
Yeah, well, I would say Nigerian citizen has not been motivated. All this that you have mentioned requires motivation for you to live in that kind of an environment that gives you all this that you have mentioned. So even if you have all this in place, let me say clearly, the socialist concept of association, because even as citizens of this country, we have association, members of us, an association. You understand? So whatever association you belong to, be it social, political, or even country, must satisfy 3 basic needs. That is the socialist concept. And the first one is your moral need. You must find that the environment gives you sense of justice, equality, and equity. All this put together will satisfy your moral needs. So you know that you're not being subjugated, you're not being marginalized, you're as equal as any other person, to any other person. So you're not a second citizen. So that's moral need that you must find in any environment that you belong. So in this case, the context is Nigeria. The second need that a country or an association must satisfy is material need. Access to education that you mentioned, healthcare, good road, rail, whatever. All these are material needs. And the extent to which this country has satisfied that need is also up there for us to assess. Then the third one is your psychological needs. And that is where NOA comes in. We are to ensure that the psychological needs of the people of this country is satisfied by government. And that is the only way you can be connected. You see, the issue of patriotism is an emotional issue. It's an issue that is driven by sentiment. And you must create the condition for the sentiment to be activated. So you must motivate the citizens. So asking the citizen to be patriotic without creating the conditions for them to be patriotic, you're just wasting your time. And that's why we are where we are after 60 years of independence.
All right, and let me ask you this. What do you think? There are some who believe that it's the politics that has created this situation, the kinds of politics that Nigeria practices. And so you find that each time people need to come together to elect or, their representatives, there's so much bitterness. In the Second Republic, actually, there was a politician who went around and his mantra was politics without bitterness. So many years later, we still have this happening.
Okay, well, I would not say politics. Politics itself is a victim of our lack of value system. We took off in 1960 with a constitution that spelled out what our values should be. But this country never put in place institutions to nurture Nigerians based on those values. So if you now find yourself in politics or economy or whatever, it should reflect. So that's why politics itself is a victim. If we had been raised, nurtured, indoctrinated on values, if you find yourself in politics, you will do the right thing. So what is missing is that this is a country that lacks value system. And in any society or tribe, every tribe has its core values. The Yoruba call it Omoluabi. The Fulani call it Indimu. Every tribe has what defines their values. And when you step out of that, they say you're a bastard. So what qualifies somebody to be called a Nigerian bastard? You cannot even say somebody is a Nigerian true-born Nigerian, because you have not defined who a Nigerian is. You can only define who a citizen is when you define what your values are. So until this country define what our values are, and now create institutions to nurture all of us along those values so that we can be ambassadors and we can embody those values. Whatever we find ourselves, whether in politics or any other sector, we're going to be people who do not have values, and then we are going to also exhibit that in whichever way we work.
Yeah, but DJ, is this largely, a drawback that this country is so diverse, hundreds of ethnic groups, languages, so many of them.
Yeah.
Is that a disincentive to unity or uniting?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. It depends on how you harness it. You could do it negatively or positively. Unfortunately, we have allowed those who thrive in the negativity of this diversity to overwhelm the rest of us. And it's because we don't have a guidebook. So I go back to values. You know, if we had that in place, even those ones would not have the space to now promote negative out of our diversity. You know, so it's not a disadvantage that we have that diversity, because the diversity, if we had aggregated all the positives in all or the sub-national of this country and produce them as now the embodiment of our nationalism, then you can be sure that the country will tower above all our negativity. So what we need to do now is to aggregate all the positives in all the ethnic nationalities and make it the national value system, so that everybody, no matter what tribe you belong, you see yourself reflected in the national culture. So it is only then that you can be motivated. That is the psychological need I referred to earlier. You know, when you now feel that this country has motivated you, it represents who you are, is promoting who you are, and is connecting with your sentiment. You know, patriotism is like love. There must be an attraction. So if you don't put attraction in place, it is difficult to say love your country. On what basis? You must create the conditions.
After so many years of independence, does it worry you that you have people who rise today and say, look, we should break up. We want to go our different ways. We want to, form some other community, some other country. Let's, as they say, let's go our separate ways.
Yeah, because it is psychologically disconnected. The country has not satisfied its psychological need. So if you ask him to analyze the reason why we should go, he will end up with emotional issues, things that are driven by emotions, sentiments, because he's disconnected. He has not been able to anchor his feelings, on the country. That's a disconnect. So that's why the country must necessarily put in place things that will make you to naturally feel proud, put that sense of pride in the citizens, for them to look forward and be proud anywhere in the world to showcase themselves as Nigerians, knowing that that means positivity. That is psychological. So, and that is the role of NOA. So the whole gamut of our orientation programs is about ensuring that the country put the conditions in place for the citizens to feel psychologically connected. And that is when they can now offer their love to the country. So there have been past efforts, but the shortcoming arose from the fact that it was about the citizens, and we have been too hard on ourselves. You are not patriotic. How can I be patriotic? I need evidence. I need to be motivated. I need to be attracted to the country. Are you getting it? So that's why what has informed what we have worked on for over 3 months, that we call the National Values Charter, so which the President has committed himself to unveiling very shortly. And this charter is a contract. That's why it's a charter, because there has to be a contract between the country and the citizens. There must be an agreement, and the country must make certain promises to the citizens. We all belong to, even in our faith, whether you're a Christian or a Muslim, your faith has made a promise to you that you will end up in heaven, isn't it? So that is the motivation. And now it now gives you commitment. If you are able to do this and that, this is my promise. What is the promise this country has made to the citizens? That's what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu said. No, it cannot be about the citizens alone. The country also must put something on the table.
So let's begin to talk about the strategy which you have adopted and you have outlined, and how you intend to work towards this.
Yeah, we are going to be very methodical. And you see, when you are dealing with human feelings, with the dynamism of, of a human being, you must ensure that first and foremost, you understand his reasons for his current sentiment. And also ensure that you cure the negative reasons he has. For instance, in other countries of the world, developed countries, talk of America, France, China, they all have a value system which create the uniqueness of that citizenship. In America, they have what they call the American dream. And the values are embodied in that American dream. So it's over 100 years old. The American dream speaks to the character, the personality of an American and of the country itself. So it talks of liberty, it talks of exceptionalism, it talks of pursuit of happiness. So they have a whole lot of values they have built there. And they created institutions that once you are born as an American or you are living in America, or that you will come across several institutions that are tailoring you towards the values, educate you about the values, enlighten you, and nurture you to be an embodiment of it. So in France, it's about family culture. It's about value what belongs to them, like language. If you see a French, it will take him time to speak English, except there's no other way he can communicate with you in French before he will submit himself to any other language. That's the way it's brought up. The American that has been brought up has been made to know he's an exceptional human being by being an American. What that tells him is that anywhere he goes in the world is the best. And that drives him. And so if he grows up and becomes a movie maker and is writing his script, of course, America must defeat any other country because that's what he's been told. So if America will face Russia in that film, of course, Russia must lose, or whether China, or whether even people from the space, or Arabs, America must win. Have you ever watched an American film where America lost? That's the way they are wired. It's about their values. And that also drives them, whether in government or as citizens. They have put that in place, and even as a foreign student in America, if you will come across 60% minimum curriculum that is telling you or explaining Americanness to you. So that's what every country does. And we have our own attribute in this country, but we have not codified them and now create institutions that will make all of us to nurture them.
I was going to say, traditionally we have our own values and ethos and ethics, which some would say we lived by for so many years, but at some point in time, we just let those drift away.
Yeah. We didn't codify them, and we didn't create institutions to grow them and grow all of us on those values. For instance, you will have seen a lot of videos, from other countries, America, South Africa, talking about Nigerians being smart people. That's the experience they are having when they have interaction with Nigerians. So which means part of our attribute is that an average Nigerian is a smart person. He has leadership traits. He is confident. So all these are natural to us. Are you getting it? Yes. So, but these are who we are. Officially, it has not been codified. So that they will now create institutions to make you to now use that smartness positively. So that when they confront the person in South Africa or America who has said the Nigerian is a smart person, and they ask him for an example, he will not use the example of a Nigerian who sold an airport that does not exist. That is a negative smartness. And we have many positive smartness around us. So the National Values Charter that we are launching will clearly, and it's not about, I have not been talking of government, I said country.
Right.
Yeah, it's like when you put your constitution in place, it happened under certain government. But with the consciousness that it was not for that government, it's for the country. And that's why we are not referring to the constitution and say, the constitution or Buhari or Shagari.
Governments come and go and the country
exactly,
stays.
it remains. It's the same way your value charter must remain. So whether APC, PDP, Labour, NNPP, whatever party that comes to power, that is the irreducible minimum that you must comply with. So the National Value Charter has two components. The one that is for the country and the one that is for the citizens. There are two sides to this issue. So the country has the component that we call the Nigerian Promise. So the Nigerian Promise is the pledge this country is making as a commitment to the citizens, that I make this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 promises to you from the day you are born. And so for you to grow up that your country has made these promises to you, is connecting something to your psychology, and you're looking forward to something. And then the country now says, yes, in exchange for this that I have promised, I also expect certain commitment from you. So that's when the two sides are now committing themselves, to grow that institution of citizenship. So now, the Nigerian promise has 7 pillars. And these 7 pillars speak to anyone who finds himself in position of authority, has to carry out and implement these 7 promises that the country has promised the citizens. So we have created parameters to measure somebody's performance and his Nigerianness, if I may use that word. So you can look at somebody and say, as a councillor or chairman of a local government or governor or minister or president or members of our National Assembly, and say, you're not a real Nigerian. This aspect of the promise this country has made, you're failing. You can hold him accountable because that's a parameter that has been set. So in exchange for that, we have what we call the citizen codes. The citizen code also has 7 pillars. That is, if you like, code of conduct for the citizens, in exchange for the 7 promises the country has made to all of us. So the citizen code also has 7 pillars, as I said. So it's 7 for 7. The country is giving us 7, and it's asking for 7 in return. No country in the world, let me add that, no country in the world has gotten to the destination, but they have clearly marked out the path to nationhood. We have not marked out our own path to nationhood. And that's why we have not emerged as a nation. We are still a country. There's a difference between a country and a nation. So when we have this, citizens are aware that there are 7 things this country expects from me. The people in government are aware that there are 7 things that the citizens expect from me, based on the promises the country has made. And the two sides embark on the journey of fulfilling this commitment. That is when progress and development and stability and peace can happen. That's when love for the country can grow. That's when patriotism can develop, And that is why we say in NOA, since I resume, that orientation is not the destination. It is a journey. The value system that we are trying to achieve is the destination. But we must first and foremost put those value systems in place.
Did you change? It's a difficult thing. And so you have taken into cognizance the level to which you must rise to drive this.
You're actually putting it mildly, if I may say. It's a huge task. And I also understand that human is the most difficult creation to change or to ask to modify its ways. You could better even manage some lesser animals. You could train a dog to behave a certain way and act a certain way. It is easier to do that for a human being, because a human being is in charge of his own faculty of reasoning. So, but it's also a willing animal. The human is a willing person once you are able to connect with his sentiment. And the Nigerian sentiment is what we have spoken about, that this country must connect with it. Look at our demography in this country. We are a youthful country because we have people below the age of 35 constituting about 70% of our population. So when you have a country with that kind of demography, and this is generations, Gen Z and the millennials, that were not nurtured. In the last 3 decades, this country didn't nurture its children. And now they are two-thirds of the population. They were abandoned by both the country and the parents. You will recall, sir, those days in school, we had what we call civic education that taught values and ethics. Somehow, some people felt that was not needed or important, and it was yanked off. And that fell within the time these people were growing, their impressionistic period. and they missed that opportunity of being nurtured of values and ethics. You would also recall, sir, those days in schools, you had Boy Scouts, Girls Guides, Girls Brigades. These were voluntary institutions that were created to raise people as leaders and create model citizens. If it exists now, it's a shadow of what it was supposed to be. It's no longer deliberate. You would recall that in this country, those days, if you see a child misbehaving without knowing who the parents were, and you discipline the child, some parents will even, some people will follow the child to his parents and say, this is what I have disciplined, and they will be happy that you have helped them to discipline that child. If you do it now, you will end up with the police and maybe in the court. Even the teachers cannot raise their hand or even as much as talk to the student. So there's decadence, and you now doubt the roots to it. So where we have missed the way, having 70% of our population not going through this process, is it not about time we turned back and reconnect with the past and also taking along the current realities and create those institutions? We have marked out 7, and at least 3 or 4 of them we intend to launch this year.
Right. Well, at this point, we'll take a short break. When we return, there's still so much to talk about with the Director General of the National Orientation Agency. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
One on One, Friday, 10:30 p.m. on NTA Network.
General of the National Orientation Agency, Malam Larry Isa Onilu, is here with us, and we've been talking about a reorientation, a rebirth of some sorts with the Nigerian citizen, and engaging the citizen and the country. Yes, you talked about civics education, which has been largely lost. But then they say Nigerians are a people of faith, and they are so much religious. And of course, we know that the major religions that we have here in Nigeria all have values. And since we're a people of faith and we belong in large numbers to these religions, how come we have not mainly carried out the tenets and ethics of and values of those religions?
Exactly. I'm happy you went back to faith. I mentioned faith earlier. You know, in the Christendom, when you're a member of a church and it provides you that psychological need and nurture you, then you'll be a very good Christian member of that church. Same thing applies if you're a Muslim. But we are not running theocracy in this country. We are running democracy. And church and mosque do not run this country. So you cannot take what is operating at that level of association. That's another association. The country itself, being a member of the country, is an association on its own. So you are a member of that association as a Nigerian, different from being a member of your church. So it's like in the family, you can be the nicest person in your family because the family has put some precept, some value system in place. And then so you are also representing those values. But when you step out of that, because that is an association that has provided those 3 needs for you, the moral needs, the material need, and the psychological need. So that is an association. So at every level of association, those 3 socialist concepts of needs of man must be satisfied. So we are talking of the country now.
But then it's assumed that if you're a person of faith, and as we see all the time, when public officials get elected or appointed, they step forward, they take oath, and they do so with the symbols of their various religions. So if your faith tells you, be good, do not do evil to a fellow citizen, why would that not be deeply embedded in you as to not engage in corruption, engage in wanton destruction of lives and property. So it means something is still missing something.
Okay, what is still missing is the fact that he is out of that place where those values were needed. As far as he's concerned, this is a different enclave. And what operates here is different. See, there is no way we can achieve paradise on earth. God didn't promise us that. I'm not aware of any religion where God says at a particular time, if you behave this way, you can have paradise on earth. So we're going to have all those maladies. We're going to have all those challenges. We're going to have human beings who are acting contrary to what even their faith has told them to do, or instructed them, or nurtured them, or indoctrinated them to do. That will have people acting contrary to that. And that's why we have law. That's why we have law enforcement. That's why we have the justice system. So, but all this put together cannot take the place of how a country has attracted you to naturally submit yourself and say, I have a reason to also contribute. I have a sense of pride, and I also have a role to play. Something must motivate that. We cannot deceive ourselves, and believe that this can be handled by pastors or imams. No, it has to be handled by the country itself.
It's a good thing you talked about institutions, and you've just mentioned the question of law enforcement, that is why you do have law enforcement. But again, you'll have some citizens say it's because to a large extent there has been a warped reward system and a skewed justice system, and that this whole problem has been compounded.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. All these are symptoms of a society that lacks value. The man in the police station, the man on the bench in court, the lawyer, all the people in that value chain of justice system are all products of a society that has no value system. And that will reflect in everything they do. And they will continue to give the citizens reasons to be disconnected, the reasons to feel not committed, the reasons to not have a sense of pride or love for the country. So all of these are supposed to be taken care of if the country itself has committed itself to ensuring that it live up to expectations in terms of those promises. And that is the only reason, because I don't want to go too much into the details. Since the president will unveil it, there will be nothing left for the president to unveil. But the 7 core promises of the country, for instance, has taken care of all of these things that will make any government official, including those who find themselves within the justice system, whether law enforcement or judicial system, to ensure that they do it right. And as citizens also, let me mention, for instance, one of the 7 commitments of citizens under the Citizen Code is what we call the duty of care. It means that I'm committed to care for you. You are committed that you also hold me a duty of care. And by the time we extend duty of care to each other, what happens? If you go to the police station and you get a duty of care from them, you are in the hospital, the nurses, the doctors give you that care. A deliberate, commitment to say, as a Nigerian, I have a duty of care towards my fellow citizen. So it does mean that when next you see somebody standing on the 3rd mainland bridge attempting to jump into the lagoon to commit suicide, you would extend that duty of care to do your best to rescue him instead of picking your phone to record what is going to happen. That's the difference.
Right. Let me come to another angle of this. It's a very huge country. It's a landmass, huge, massive. And to drive this message, you need to go to every nook and cranny of this country. And that, of course, brings in the question of logistics. In a period where there are so many needs competing for the resources, which many Nigerians have now been told are not really there anymore. How do you intend to drive this message and this program? And where are you going to draw the funding from? Because let me go back and say, wouldn't it seem as if you're trying to squeeze water out of a stone?
Very well said. Very good question. First and foremost, logistics also include the kind of structure that we require. So before going to funding, let me also even address the issue of the structure, the infrastructure NOA would rely on. That is sorted out. The fact that NOA has 812 office locations nationwide. We are present in every local government of this country. The 774 local government, we have an office in each of them, and our staff are there. And we have offices in all the 36 states and FCT, and when we have the headquarters as well. So we are well spread, and we reach every part of the country. Now, we've concluded the process of assessing the number of languages that NOA speaks. We speak 193 languages of the 520 Nigerian languages. And 193 languages are not, you cannot say that is small, because we want to talk to people in their own language. And so we have accounted for that. And we are creating platforms and technological tools to assist us in being able to deliver our messages in these languages that people can understand. So we are very good on that as well. But you have staff who also, for the same reason, are no longer motivated. The agency has been abandoned for over a decade. Not that they are not working, but the government, just as you said, government felt that was not important. But there's nothing that is more important than having the right attitude as citizens. You can build roads, you can build hospitals, you can build rails, you can build bridges, and the citizens will wake up tomorrow and remove the railings and sell. So, what comes first? The Yoruba have a saying. They said, the house that you built will be sold by the child you didn't build. So, we can have resources and focus on providing all this infrastructure and amenities. And then you have citizenry that is completely disconnected, that is very negative towards the country. So all those things will go to nothing. And that takes me to the funding issue. And that's why the country, and that's why I would not have been enthusiastic about this job if it is not President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that is in the saddle. Because I know his commitment to this particular issue. He knows there is nothing any government can do for 8 years, for 16 years, for 40 years. We will come back to the issue that we don't have the right kind of attitude in this country. And then we can't go anywhere. And it is not for nothing, it's not by accident that today you have Ministry of Information and National Orientation. It is a deliberate action taken by the president to ensure, because he understands the importance of orientation. And I have no doubt whatsoever that he will give his commitment 100% to ensure that NOA is able to deliver on that, and so that we can have citizens who also are willing to play their role in national development. And that can only happen when we have behavioral change. And behavioral change will not happen if the country itself has not shown that, evidence that, yes, we are doing the right thing, and we are ready, and we're also committed to your welfare and your well-being.
Now let's come to the matter of national symbols, like the flag, and how the citizens should respond to these symbols. Over the years, there has been a noticeable decline in respect for national symbols. People hardly bother themselves. They treat the Nigerian flag anyhow. And that also is seen as part of what the NOA should be doing.
Yeah.
An uphill task here.
As a matter of fact, all national symbols are under the custody of NOA by law. In other words, NOA is the custodian of all national symbols. The constitution of the country, the national pledge, the national anthem, the coat of arms, the seal of the president or Senate president or Speaker of the House of Representatives, the currency. All these are by law. NOA is the custodian of all of these things. And let me tell you, it goes beyond the fact that people don't respect it. There's also even an abuse. I would even tell you that official abuse is even higher than that of the individual disrespect. You go to many government offices today, the kind of flag you see there are not Nigerian flags. Anything you add to Nigerian flag, that's no longer Nigerian flag.
But you do see government officials and
yes, they don't even
highly
know.
placed people in society,
Government houses,
political office holders,
yes,
they do this.
Yeah, you put coat of arms on the white stripe. That's not Nigerian flag. You put lace, so thinking you are decorating it. It's no longer Nigerian flag. Nigerian flag is simply green, white, green. And even the green has color code. It's a specific type of green, Emerald 2.0. So all these are part of the process that we have put in place. We've gone to, for instance, we were with the Minister of Information and National Orientation. We were in Kano, where we had a town hall, and we visited the governor. We presented the correct flag and also encouraged them that everything within the government circle that does not meet the standard, they should please ensure that they bring them down and reach out to NOA so that we can supply them the correct national symbols.
You're going to be doing that on all the states and
no,
FCT,
we won't just be doing that because we know it will take us forever.
Right.
So as I speak to you, the FEC, we have an expectation that in a couple of, maybe the next FEC meeting or something like that, there will be something, I don't want to speak too much on that, right, okay, that will be done on that at the level of the council itself. So that everybody will understand, because mostly, also we must admit, the level of ignorance, is also high. It's not everybody doing it deliberately. In fact, since we started and made some pronouncement, we've seen some people coming forward to say, oh, please, supply us the correct flag, supply us the correct coat of arms. And there are other issues around it. In this country, Nigeria, wherever you have Nigerian flag, no any flag must be taller than Nigerian flag. That is the law. But you have situations where even some banks, they have flags that are taller than the Nigerian flag. Every flag comes under the national flag. You get it? And ideally, you cannot even use Nigerian flag in your advertisement without an authorization by NOA. You must write to say, I want to use the Nigerian flag, because we must be sure you are going to, we have to see what you want to, speak to in your advertisement to be sure that the Nigerian flag is going to be used for the right cause. So there are a whole lot of issues around the issue of national symbol. For instance, even the second stanza of the national anthem, which we have, through the effort of NOA some couple of years ago, the country has adopted it as the national prayer. So I can tell you that 8 out of 10 Nigerians, when they say the last sentence of that stanza, they say, a country where peace and justice shall reign. Shall has never been part of that particular stanza. From 1975, when it was put in place, shall, how it crept in, only God knows. So that's a whole lot of issues.
It's a good thing that you mentioned that it's been happening. It's widespread, and so many people, now you speak of, not many people know that the shall isn't there.
It's not.
And it's where peace and justice
reign.
This go on. Well, so
we don't want peace and justice to reign in future. So no, shall is not needed.
So it has to be.
It has to be
present,
now.
continuous. All right. But Director General, you did say a short while ago that even your own staff were caught up in this lethargic approach brought about by lack of commitment, which also you could blame on not having a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
So perhaps in all of this reorientation, your staff as well would be key mentees in bringing about this change. But
Yeah.
you are present in all the local governments, 774, you have staff in there. And so where is your starting point?
Oh,
to
the
even
starting
be able
point
to-
was for me, I'm a very lucky man. When I got to NOA, you know, the impression that most Nigerians have, where's NOA? NOA is not doing anything. Of course, I must admit, I also had that kind of impression. And so, but when I got there, I found very strange. The staff are fantastic Nigerians. They are competent, so I don't have problem with the level of their competence. They are only disillusioned because the system has abandoned them. So they only do what they are able to do, you know, by what the environment they have found themselves. So what have I done? The first thing, I've been to 13 states since I came on board, meeting with the staff, of course, visiting the traditional rulers and other people to also galvanize them, you know, in preparation for the value charter. But I have addressed staff in 13 states, and I will go around the remaining states to ensure that they have that renewed hope that now this country is ready to allow you to do your work. So please, from despair, come back to hope. Get ready. Things will happen. And I can tell you that things have started happening. All of them are up and doing now. All our states are bubbling, our offices in the state, in the local government, they are all bubbling now. Our COMOs, that's what we call our local government staff, COMO, Community Orientation and Mobilization Officer. Our COMOs are all up and doing and ready. Yes, the situation is still very bad. In the time of MAMSA, don't forget that it is MAMSA that became NOA. During MAMSA period, every local government had mobility. They had vehicles. Some have 2, 3 vehicles. Not one local government in this country has even a motorbike. And how do you conduct orientation, moving from one community to another, interacting with people when there is no mobility?
So that falls on
Same thing, the states. I can tell you, I'm about 5 months in office. I use my personal car as official car. There's no official car for me. That's the situation I met NOA. You know, so, but those are not issues that you will see me hammering on, because I understand that the president is Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I know what that means. I know he is committed to this cause, and the right thing will be done.
Well, as we begin to wind down and round up this program, you start with your staff and that, but there are other segments of society and other institutions to which would like to find out how you're going to engage with them in driving this message. We're talking about schools, education institutions at all levels, the traditional institution and faith-based bodies that you have here.
Yeah, the first thing we did, you know, in the last 4 months, first and foremost is to identify the structure, which include all these ones that you have mentioned, traditional institutions, the schools, and what have you. So, and also to create platforms. We've put in place now a TV studio at NOA within the last 4 months. We have a radio studio. We have a functional newsroom. Because that's our factory, where we're going to produce all these materials that we'll bring to NTA, take to other channels, take to other third-party media, and also deploy directly to the citizens. So we have done all of that. Just about 4 weeks ago, we started what we call the Explainer e-newsletter. The Explainer comes out every Friday. It will come out today, by this evening, the 5th edition. The Explainer every week presents, you know, explain government policies. That is targeting the elite. And this is being widely distributed nationwide, electronically. Because, like I said, our wings are spread to all the local government. So everybody is involved in disseminating all of this. So we have put that in place. I have been to 13 states. In each state, I see one or two major traditional rulers. Tell them what we are trying to do, and also get them to be ready. As we speak, just about 3 weeks ago in Kano, the Minister of Information and National Orientation unveiled NOA's mobile app. So the app is launched. We call it Mobilizer. The app has been downloaded by thousands of Nigerians. We still begin to now do proper promotion of the app. The app has a lot of interesting and exciting features to connect with the youth that we say constitutes about 70% of our population, and is to use the app to get them to be involved in decision making, to interact with government, for them to also begin to play their role, and ensure that we also generate feedback to government easily.
All right. Well, there's so much to talk about, but, time has caught up with us, and we must at this point begin to thank you so very much for coming on this program. I mean, I do expect that you'll be back, soon enough, so we can review just how much progress you've made in driving this new message of the National Orientation Agency, talking about a reorientation of the Nigerian citizen. But for now, Malam Larry Isau Nilu, I'd like to thank you very much, Director General of the National Orientation Agency. Thank you for coming on One On One.
It's my pleasure. Pleasure being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And this is our program today. We thank you for watching. Next week, we'll be back with One On One. I am Cyril Stover. Bye for now.